Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Anime Avenue podcast. I'm your host, Habit, and we're coming back to you guys with another podcast as usual, but you might see something a little bit different. We're starting to use face cams in this. So I'm here with Zypher and Kid as usual. Say what's up, guys.
Yo,
Yeah.
what's up, guys?
What's up, guys? What's going on?
I can just see you laughing on the frickin' thing, Zypher. Alright, so today we have two different topics that we're going to talk about, but we'll get into that a little bit later. First, we're going to start out with kind of our little segment that we always do about what we've been doing this week. So I guess, Zypher, you can start out this time, since I always put Kid on the spot.
Yeah. So it's your time.
Well,
Zypher.
first things first. This is actually kind of like a transition for us. So if you're seeing us like just start laughing at each other because like this is something we're not used to, so we're like looking at each other's face for the first time while doing something live. It's kind of funny for us, but we'll get used to it over the weeks that go by. But this is the first episode we're finally doing live. But in terms live, I meant with face cam. But in terms of what I've been doing last week, just finished watching the Attack on Titan episode. It's leading up to something huge. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I don't know if you could agree or disagree, Habit. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I mean, the place where they ended it off was actually kind of crazy. I didn't really expect them to just end it off abruptly like that. Granted, I guess they always kind of end it off abruptly, sort of. But
Yeah, and then in terms of that, um, I want to get into this with you guys. So before I get into that, I want to talk about like the whole One Punch Man season 2 controversy. But before we get into that, other than that, it's been the same old playing Destiny 2. I watched the MHA episode. We got like the provisional license exam we're going through right now. We're almost done that, and we're gonna get into that. Let's just say this probably gonna be mostly in season 4, but Kid knows what I'm talking about. Like I think after provisional license exam is where like MHA starts pushing the bar of like when it starts becoming a really really phenomenal series. But other than that, I haven't. I think I checked out this anime. I need to pull it up on Annie list. I'll pull it up in a second. Kid, you could go.
wow.
But there's another anime I just
You
recently started checking out.
forgot.
Pretty much what's been up with me this week. I watched the recent episode of My Hero, just like Zypher did, and judging on like where the anime is at right now, it feels like everything's wrapping up because they finished the first round of the provisional license exam, so they're moving on to the second because there's only I believe there's only like 3 rounds to this thing. I don't remember on the top of my head because it's been a while since I read this arc in the manga, so I don't really remember everything. That's why the anime is helping me, because I even said in one of my videos before that sometimes watching the anime helps refresh your memory if you happen to like forget things that happened in there. But if you noticed what Zypher said earlier about the whole thing going on with Deku and Bakugo in the episode, you know it's leading up to something huge for both of their characters. And because this is something that's been built up for a while. Like, this is something that's been built up ever since season 1. So I'm not going to spoil just in case you guys are anime onlys, but it's going to be pretty exciting. And I also checked out this new manga because I wanted to start checking out other series that I'm not really familiar with. So I caught up with Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's currently 22 chapters, but there's only 19 chapters translated, and it's one of the new manga in Weekly Shonen Jump, and I am actually really enjoying it. It reminds me a bit of Bleach and stuff, which is pretty cool because I grew up on Bleach, so I really like the series and all. And and I'm definitely going to continue with it. I mean, Bleach had its moments. You can't argue with that. It
No,
had.
no, that's not laughing. You were doing fine. It just Habit just keeps giving these looks. And I can't.
It's like, oh, it's time to proceed.
Dude, okay, all right, no, but you were. I agree with what you said, kid. I just like have it just give me these weird ass looks.
I'm
Have you-
giving the webcam looks.
all right, whatever you want to call it, but Habit, you can finish off what you've been doing.
So I started to continue to catch up to My Hero, so I'm about to finish season 2. So probably by the next time we can do some more full dives into the episodes, and then hopefully Kid is gonna catch up a little bit more to Attack on Titan. We can full dive into that a little bit more as well. As far as that, mostly just grinding out articles still, and I don't know, messing around on Destiny with Zypher, since that's all he literally does, and that's it. He wakes up, plays Destiny, and maybe sometimes watches anime.
Yeah.
But
this is usual.
Right. So
but,
let's transition into the whole thing about the One Punch Man thing. So I'll just break it down a little bit. Is that Yonko Productions tweeted out that One Punch Man was going to be coming out in 2020, and he had a source that he thought was pretty reliable, but it ended up not really being the case. And today it got announced that One Punch Man was going to be coming out in April of 2019. So do you want to start this one off, Zypher? Because I think you know a little bit more of Yonko and the whole situation.
I think from the very get-go, since One Punch Man Season 2 was even announced, because we didn't even know we were ever going to get one, and then we find out it's getting one, but it's not being made by Madhouse, made by JC staff. And then up until the summer, we literally have no clue what was happening with it. We just knew it was coming. And then we get announced, like, this was even from Yonko, there was just speculation, oh, it's coming out this fall. Oh, no, it's coming out this summer. Like, no one knew. People just assumed. And then, Yonko, a pretty accurate source, if you never heard of him, Yonko Productions on Twitter, check him out. He tweets out saying that it's coming in 2020. First episode is airing. And to his, to basically say, the best way to put it is, like, I don't know how to word it. Like, the benefit of the doubt, to give him the benefit of the doubt, the sources that he has and the way he gets them from, he's 99% of the time, he's always right. He's almost never been wrong. This is one of the few times. And I think the issue I had with it was a lot of people started giving him shit for it, which I don't think he deserves. Like, sure, like, people mess up. Like, I don't think it's the end of the day that he messed up on things. Sure, One Punch Man is a huge, phenomenal series, and that he messed up on a post that a lot of people, like, I remember there's so much controversy even before that. Like, people took his word for it, and they're like, 2020, are you kidding me? 16 months, we've already waited 3 years. And then now people are, like, happy that it's coming on April, but still giving him shit for it. So it's like, people can't even make up their minds. People gave him shit for saying, oh, dude, how are you going to tell us it's coming out 16 months from now? And then now it's coming, like, in half the time, in, like, 8 months. People are still giving him shit for it because now he's made a mistake. And I feel like, sure, people make mistakes, but I think look at his track record. He's, like, made almost nearly no mistakes. You cannot give him shit for that. You can't call him creditless. People were, like, going off on Twitter on him, and I talked to him on DM personally. He said that he's just gonna let it happen. He doesn't want to make any excuses, which I could really commend him for. But I think he should still respond and say something. But he's probably not going to.
Yeah. So, what are your opinions on it, kid? I don't know if you know much about it, but
I've mainly just saw the post on Twitter, and I'm not, like, really familiar with, like, One Punch Man as a whole, if you want me to be honest. I mean, I watched, like, the first 2 episodes or so, but I do know that it's a big series and a lot of people look forward to it. And knowing how, like, something like that happened will upset people, but at the same time, I feel this way with a lot of people. I don't feel like it's right for people to jump on him just because he made a mistake, because we're all human and we make mistakes and it's only natural. So people shouldn't be attacking him, because attacking him isn't going to do anything, isn't going to change anything. It isn't going to have, like, One Punch Man come out in January of 2019 or, like, the next day. Like,
I think is
yeah.
I think whatever they do is the best thing to do in that whole scenario. So I kind of feel bad, because I have a feeling from this point on, people are probably going to look at him a different way just because he messed up one time. But I feel like people should just, like, brush it off or forget about it, because most of the time he's 100% on everything. So people are just going a little bit too crazy.
Now that I think about it, like, even when you look at it, YouTubers, like, someone could be like the angel of YouTube, right? Like, Logan Paul is a perfect example, where, like, he was the most loved, most, like, the fastest growing channel on YouTube. He was just doing numbers. Everybody loved him. And he messed up, and it was a pretty bad blunder. Like, he messed up big time back in January. And, like, that will live for him for the rest of his life. Obviously, this is nowhere on the scale of Yonko Productions, but that is just like a analogy I could make. It's like no one's ever gonna let them live that down. He has to live with it with the rest of his life. That big mistake he made, that literally defines him as a person now. That one mistake he did, just from that one mistake, even though maybe like him or not, like if you loved every single one of his videos, that one mess up of video is what defines him now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of sad when it comes to Yonko because most of the things that I see from him are pretty positive. I never really hear anything bad when it comes to him. And he provides like a source that not many people can really have, because most of the time when he talks about something related to shonen, everyone kind of uses him as a source when it comes to that. I mean, there's even things like Anime News Network uses things that Yonko had tweeted out first. So, I mean, clearly he has a connection into the industry, or with people that have connections into the industry that not a lot of people have. So a lot of the time his stuff is extremely accurate, and this is one of the cases when it's not. But I don't really think we should like shame him for really getting this one thing wrong, especially because nobody has really even talked about One Punch Man, any speculations of when it's coming out, anything towards that line. So him just putting himself out there, giving that news, is pretty commendable in my opinion, because most people wouldn't give their source like that and go up front with something as important as like a big series like One Punch Man, or like Promise Neverland. He's done Promise Neverland posts and things towards that line. So I mean, clearly he's connected into the industry very well, and clearly all of his sources for the most part are pretty accurate. This is just the one time where he kind of put his neck out there for something and then it just didn't really work out. And yeah, I think people kind of just need to move on and not really focus on the one thing that he got wrong, and just be happy for the things that he puts out that otherwise we probably wouldn't know. So I mean, that's kind of my opinion on the
Yeah, I even met him in real life, but in Anime Expo. He's a genuine dude. Like, I got to talk to him on a personal level. He's a really nice guy. Yeah, he was getting along with literally everyone I saw in the anime community. He was going everywhere, every single party, every single event. He just got into everything. He was like in like group call, well, not called, like group conversations, like and like sitting around the table with like CEOs of like Crunchyroll, Funimation, Viz Media, and I was like, yo, Yonko, you're killing it out here. Like, he was like literally sitting in a round table with all the big companies in the anime industry. And I was like, good for him.
Yeah. So do you guys have any kind of final thoughts, I guess, on this little kind of mini thing we're talking about?
No, I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to say.
No, I said my part on it.
So I kind of just think everyone should chill out on Yonko. Clearly, he does a lot of things right, so don't really bash on him for the one thing that he does wrong. So I guess with that, we're going to transition into the first topic. This topic is going to be kind of just our opinions on like binge watching anime versus watching it weekly. So I guess we can start with Kid on this one.
It's actually a good thing I'm starting with this, because I'm currently binge watching Hunter x Hunter right now, because I never really got the chance to watch this series at all. And I personally feel like when you're binging a series, I guess you get more enjoyment out of it. It's kind of like the same thing with manga as well, not just anime. Because I know a lot of people say that about One Piece, and I know Zypher brought it up as well, where like some people, like when it comes to One Piece and stuff like that, they sometimes get bored where they have to like read the chapters weekly. But like when you read it in bulk, it just has like a whole different experience. And that's kind of how I feel about with Hunter x Hunter. Just like binge watching it just has like a different experience. So I don't have to wait like the next weekend in order to see the next episode. Like, I can just continue watching all these episodes of Hunter x Hunter and, you know, catch up faster and just experience everything. But at the same time, when you're watching something weekly, I guess it adds suspense because it could end off on a cliffhanger if it's like a certain chapter, an episode that you're watching or reading, and then you just get really hyped about it, and then you just get all that build up to that one thing, and then once it gets shown, you're like, oh wow, that was just crazy. So that's personally how I feel about it though. So like personally, like I don't mind either because I'm not really the type of person that like really complains like, oh, I'm gonna wait until all this is finished and then I could catch up. Like I can personally like do either one.
Yeah, so I feel like you're probably going to have maybe a different perspective on it, Zypher, because for the most part, a lot of the stuff you watch is like weekly sort of things. And
I mean, it's actually kind of funny because when I first got into anime, which I've gone into in the previous podcast like 5 years ago, everything I started was binge watch. Like I watched Naruto, caught up within a month, and then I watched Attack on Titan, caught up within a week, and then I went from then on. I was like Hunter, x Hunter, Fairy Tail, Hitman Reborn, Bleach, One Piece, all within a span of a year. But like it was like apart. But when I did watch them, it was within a week or two, maximum a month. I think One Piece, it was like I got halfway through in a month. So I started off as binge watching. Like when I discovered anime, I was like, what is this like media? Like this new genre of entertainment I never witnessed. So it was just like every single thing I literally watched, it was just long running shonen that people kept recommending me, and I just kept watching after watching next. I just kept hitting up next up the list. But now that I've seen a certain amount of shows and now I've experienced seasonal anime, I do want to eventually get to shows like Yu Yu Hakusho. I haven't seen Rurouni Kenshin. I still want to binge watch. Gintama I want to eventually get to, but it is difficult for me now that I've experienced seasonal anime. I feel like it's a different experience in a way. It's like binge watching is amazing, but I feel like weekly is a lot more memorable because when I binge watch, like I can't even remember specific moments that happened, like even the smallest details. But when you watch, for example, like Attack on Titan, like the last 4 episodes, I can right now tell you what happened in each episode. Whereas I binge watch Attack on Titan season 1, I can't tell you everything that happened in season 1, especially since it's happened a long time ago. But I could go through every episode because it's week by week, so you have time to process that one episode. But when you're like going through like 10 or 15 in a day, like you're not gonna remember every single little detail. So I feel like when you watch it weekly, it's a lot more memorable. But like binge watching is truly a different experience. Like Kid mentioned, One Piece, for example, hands down. I love watching it weekly and reading it weekly, but it is the best experience when I like was just going through an arc in a day or two. Like just seeing that whole story go down and an arc go down, like one specific story go down in a day or two, and you're just going straight through it. It's like a complete different experience.
Yeah, so my thing is, I guess technically, if you want to be technical, how I got into anime, I did watch it on Toonami and stuff, so I guess in that light, I technically watched anime first, watching it weekly, but when I actually really started watching, I was binge watching, and then I started YouTube, and then started getting into the whole seasonal stuff. And I feel like, in a sense, when you're watching stuff, especially if you watch a lot of seasonal anime, you kind of lose the ability to be able to like binge watch and watch things that aren't really relevant at the time. So I feel like you kind of have a trade-off. When you're binge watching stuff, you cut off the ability to watch stuff that are relevant. When you're watching weekly and watching relevant things, you lose that whole side of being able to watch like the like relevant things. So
I think the main issue came with me because I feel like I binge watched even up until the moment I entered the community. Once I discovered the anime community, and now it's become a whole thing is when I watch an episode, when I see a chapter, I want to discuss it with my friends. I want to discuss it with people. So now it's become this thing where it's like, if I wanted to binge something, I have to completely forget about my friends, like just not talk for them for like a day or two. For example, Habit, I hadn't seen him in the last day today. He came on for this podcast because he was busy catching up to MHA. So I feel like binging has that issue now with now that I interact with the community a lot, go on Twitter, go on YouTube, talk to people on Discord, is that I can't do it without like excluding literally everybody from my life while binging. So it's become a lot more difficult. But before I entered the community, I had no one to talk to about anime or manga, so it was just like constantly just keep going at it.
Yeah. I mean,
that's honest. Oh, sorry.
You can go, kid.
Oh, that's honestly how I felt too, because like when I first got into anime and stuff like that, there was a lot of people that were like into certain series, but I wasn't caught up to those series, so it was kind of hard for me to start conversations with them, because if I wanted to talk about One Piece, or I mean, if they wanted to talk about Naruto or One Piece with me, or like around the time like 3 or 5 years ago, I wasn't really caught up to those series, so I didn't really know anything about it. But after a while, like once I took time out of my day to like just focus on catching up to these series and stuff, then I started having a lot more conversations with people, and I started making a lot more friends. And I feel like when you binge something, or like just watch something on a weekly basis and stuff, it's just a fun experience, because like Zypher said, you can talk about your friends about like a certain chapter or a certain episode, because that's honestly what I do. Like if I watch like an episode or I read a chapter or so, I hit up one of my friends. I'm like, oh, what's your thought on this? What's your thought on the, what's your thoughts on this chapter or episode? Like, did you like how Studio Bones adapted the recent episode of My Hero? Do you like what Horikoshi's doing with the manga and stuff like that? And I feel like it's just fun experience, like when you binge and stuff, because sometimes if you have like distractions and stuff where you're talking to your friends, then you're just gonna hold back on that. And I had to do that multiple times. Like, so I remember I like took a break from the internet because I was wanted to catch up to like several series, but if I kept focusing on like my laptop or my cell phone or whatever it is, it's never gonna get.
Yeah.
Did we lose him?
Oh, I guess so.
Oh, there we go. You're fine.
Your webcam just froze for a second, but
Oh.
So yeah, I really do think that like watching stuff weekly is more kind of like a sociable thing, because people talk about it, and a lot of people in the community do discussion type videos, especially when it comes to bigger shonen or just bigger series in general. So I feel like there's a bit more of interaction and closeness in the community when it comes to weekly things versus binge watching, because if you binge watch something that's old, some people may not remember unless they had watched it recently, or wouldn't really be engaged in the conversation as much as something like relevant, such as like the most recent One Piece episode or chapter or something towards that line. So I just feel like aside from the social aspect, it's kind of like a hard place for me to whether or not which one I want to do, because when I watch seasonal stuff, it's usually like full dive into seasonal anime, and then I'm watching like 5 to 10 things, and then I'm sucked up in that whole area, not being able to watch things that I previously had wanted to. And then vice versa, if I'm binge watching some stuff, I don't really have the time to keep up with as many seasonal things. So it's kind of just like a big trade-off when it comes to me. It's either one or the other, sort of. I feel like there's not really an in-between, in my opinion.
I feel like if I'm ever gonna catch up to any of the three that I mentioned, Gintama, Rurouni Kenshin, or Yu Hakusho, because all those three are like renowned series. If I'm gonna ever catch up, it has to be this year, because starting with 2019, we got like Promised Neverland. We have in spring we got My Hero Academia season 4. We have Kimetsu no Yaiba. We have One Punch Man, and then we have like I'm sure what was that series? It's completely slipping my mind. But there's like another series. Sorry, what?
I was gonna say, like, you never know. There could be some anime announced before the year ends that none of us were expecting as well.
Yeah, JoJo Part 5 is gonna be going on. Like, there's a lot of shows. 2019 is looking like Oh yeah, Vinland Saga. That's the show I was talking about. Like, 2019 is looking to be like one of the greatest years for seasonal anime. And if that's the case, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to binge in 2019 at all,
Yeah.
because there's
We
so
said
many
that
animes
about
coming
this
out.
year too.
Oh
2018
yeah,
had a lot of
And
great
and it's
titles.
only gonna, dude. Every year that goes by, just more and more phenomenal shows are coming out. So like every year that goes by, I feel like it's becoming more difficult to binge.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So you gotta hop on it while you can.
I mean, like, this season
Hmm.
specifically, I feel like this season would have been a good time to be watching other stuff besides what you typically watch, like the My Hero and stuff like that, because other than that, this, like, season is kind of dull in a sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like what you were saying is next year there's definitely going to be seasons where it's just completely packed, if not all of them being packed. So it's going to be very hard for people that want to have kind of an in between, because it's not really going to be the case. Because if you're not watching all the seasonal stuff possible, then you're missing out on good stuff probably. So it's going to be very interesting, like what some people do and how some people transition their content in the next upcoming year, because there's definitely people that do kind of an in-between of reviewing anime and doing seasonal related stuff, so it's going to be pretty hard for those people to kind of keep up with both sides.
I mean, except for Chibi, I don't know how that man does it.
I don't know.
I don't know, you just
Like sometimes I wake up in the morning and I have like 5 to 6 notifications like on my phone.
Dude,
I
this
think
man
what he
Chibi-
does, I think what he does is like he watches all these shows and then he gives himself a good 2 to 3 hours and he talks about it and he edits all the videos, he renders them and then he uploads them all at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's probably smart. But like what he does is
He
he
probably has it
watches
planned out.
everything. Yeah, he probably watches everything, and then literally back to back to back to back, he just records, and then does his editing, whatever necessary, and then just puts it. That man doesn't even need to edit. He just does raw, like just straight one sitting review.
I noticed that as well.
He's done it so many times now that he doesn't even need to cut. So he just straight up does raw footage, and he just has to hit start and stop, and then once he's done that like 5 or 6 times, that's his videos for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, specifically for him, I feel like he's pretty well spoken. So when he does stuff like that, there's not really that much of a need of editing, because he might stumble a few times or whatever, but for the majority of the time, he's pretty much just flowing the entire video. So for him specifically, definitely easier than some people.
Yeah, I feel like after a while, like when you're behind the camera and everything like that, you'll get used to it eventually. Like I feel like 5 to 10 years from now, even us, we might not have to worry about like editing certain parts of our videos, like doing camera cuts and stuff like that if we get better at it eventually. Because I remember when I first started YouTube and everything, I had hard time where I had the camera on, I couldn't really focus, I kept stumbling my words and everything like that. But since I've been in the game for like 3 years now, I sort of got used to the whole entire environment. So he's
Man,
been around for a long time. So
yeah, he's been around for ages. Man, if I even like, even though I'm relatively new, I go back a year and a half now. The way I speak and talk and look at the camera is just so much more different. Like
Mhm.
I feel like I've literally haven't changed, but there's literally so much more confidence, and I feel like that's just only gonna go up. But like the
Yeah.
way I looked at the camera and like spoke to it, it was like I was almost scared of it. Like when I started, but at that moment I didn't feel like that. But just in presentation, it looks so much more different.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, especially when it comes to like my first videos, they were pretty scary. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I mean, I was like this. I was
Yeah.
just like sitting back, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going, guys?" So today, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a conversation about this anime that I. And I mean,
I just
granted,
I remember to clean that up later. I
Great.
just choked on my water.
He spit on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah,
he thinks he's Squirtle.
oh no.
I literally was in the middle of drinking.
I mean, granted, I don't think I'm that crazy amount better than that, but I mean, at least I can have a normal conversation versus back then I definitely wouldn't have been able to do something like this. And I feel like this specifically for us can really help us really get our thoughts out more clearly, because this is something that isn't really able to be edited as easily. And
It's
even
more
if we
raw
did,
and real.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna be looking at this like podcast 100 in, and we're gonna be looking like, holy shit, dude! Like,
This is
what
really
were we thinking?
embarrassing.
Exactly.
At that professional studio, yeah.
Do you
I think we could
guys
transition to our second
Okay.
topic unless you got anything left to say.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything else to say, but I guess just to conclude that it's kind of one of those things where for the most part it's a trade-off. I don't know if you guys agree with that as well.
Yeah.
100%, it's a trade-off.
I
It's
agree
like
100%.
both have its cons and pros. But if I had to choose where I'm at now, I'd probably had to pick seasonal anime just because it's easier to keep track of, and you get to also interact with your friends about it. Because usually with seasonal anime, your friends are watching alongside with you when it comes
Yeah.
to seasonal stuff.
I feel like we're probably all three kind of on that the same term there, because I just like keeping up with what's relevant because it just helps overall when it comes to videos, just conversations in general, things towards that line. But so
Definitely.
we'll transition into the next thing. So this is going to be kind of a conversation of how we keep up with content creation and how we kind of keep ourselves going making videos or doing stuff on web pages, things towards that line. So I guess you can start off, Zypher.
So it, going back to like when I first like wanted to do content creation, right? Like I feel like everyone had that moment where they're like, dude, that's what I want to do. Like you watched a YouTuber, you saw what he was doing, you liked what he was doing, you're like, I want to do that kind of stuff. And that goes back to like my 13 to 14-year-old self, which is like 7 years ago, when I started playing Call of Duty. Um I started watching these Call of Duty videos, these funny moments. Like, if you guys ever heard of them, Carewire, Speedy, like these guys used to just fool around in the game and just have fun. And then like there was other YouTubers like Vanos and then FaZe, if you guys ever heard of them, that they're like did sniping and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, that's what I want to do. And I tried doing it as a younger kid, constantly saving up money to get an Elgato capture card, getting a microphone. Everything I have now has been just a cumulative of me just over the years constantly trying to build up that ultimate setup. I remember as a 15-year-old kid, I dreamed of getting like a gaming PC, and now I'm just like it's like a normal thing for me. But so gaming never worked out. Like I always wanted to try it, never worked out. I feel like the passion wasn't there. I was trying to do something that other people were doing that I thought was cool, but it wasn't working for me. And then a year and a half ago, when I catch up to One Piece was truly the drive for me. I got so passionate about One Piece. When I caught up to One Piece, I was like, there's got to be people who talk about this because I want to see what other people's thoughts are. And that's when I discovered anime on YouTube. And then I found people like Joy Boy and Roger. And then moving forward, I found everyone else like Habit, all you guys. And the way I did it was my passion for One Piece. And I truly, when I caught up to One Piece, it was like nothing like I've ever felt before. Like it's my all-time favorite series. I've never felt like this with a show before ever in my life. And I was like, I want to talk about One Piece. This is what I want to do. And when I saw Roger and Joyboy doing it, I'm like, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. And now a year and a half later, I haven't stopped. I've been keep going at it. And I feel like the number one thing, personally for me, it might differ for other people. Truly, that one word, if I was to summarize in one word, it was passion. My passion for one anime is just something I haven't had for anything else before, when in terms of like everything I've done in my life. But yeah, that was it pretty much for me.
Yeah. What about you, kid?
Many years ago, like when I was around like 11 or so, like I've always had a passion for doing videos and stuff because one of the things I always wanted to do, like a dream I wanted to pursue when I got older, was to become a movie director because I grew up on watching a whole bunch of films and stuff, and I wanted to go out there and like record videos like people do on YouTube, where they used to like record like certain like I don't know, certain stunts or like possibly like getting a group of my friends together and just have us sitting there and talking and stuff. Because back then, well, when I was like 11 or so, I didn't really do anything like out there. Like I mainly just did like a whole bunch of slideshows. I used to do these little stop stop motion videos. My Legos, or pretty much took a picture and then I took another picture and I took another one, etc., so on, so I can make this animation with the character. And I used to do that with sprites online. So I wanted to get into that a little bit, but then eventually after a while, I don't know what happened, but I gave it a break and I never went back to it. So then I had another channels in my life. This is the third one. The second channel I used to do a whole bunch of vlogs, and I had like around 800 subscribers on there, which is actually pretty good. And I was like doing really well on the channel, but then I eventually fell off because I was currently in like middle school going into high school, and then I started focusing on school so much I completely forgot about my channel and eventually went downhill. And I believe when I started like getting back into anime again, because I met this kid named CJ, and he was at my high school, and me and him were like really close friends to this day. And he started getting me into Naruto again with like the whole stuff going on with the Akatsuki and all that. And I started watching Naruto, and then I started checking out like Fairy Tail and all these other series. And I kid you not, I was a huge Fairy Tail fan. Like back then, I was really passionate about that series. I used to talk about it on my channel all the time, and that's what people knew me by. Is like whenever a Fairy Tail video was posted, like, oh yeah, that's Kid Otaku. He talks about that series. So like when I got like really into that series, I started going online and I came across like Double Four Anime, for Neverworld, Sawyer Seven Mage. Um, I didn't find out about Roger until like a good 2 years ago, but it's been quite a while since I like started posting videos like around that time. Like I posted one, and then I eventually gave it a break, and then I eventually had a routine where I had a whole schedule going on, and I eventually started posting on a weekly basis. And then Fairy Tail was eventually ending soon, which it ended last year in 2017. And then that's when I came across My Hero, because a lot of these people were talking about My Hero Academia. I still remember I was in my friend Danny Anime stream. I know Zypher knows who that is. I'm pretty sure Habit knows who that is as well. But I came across him. He was doing a stream counting down to My Hero Academia whenever the anime was coming out, and we were just doing a whole stream. I wasn't caught up with the series; they were reading the manga and stuff. And then I watched the first episode, and I started talking about it on a regular basis. I eventually was so invested in it around episode 5 or 6, and then I started reading the manga. I caught up. I started talking about that, and then I was enjoying the anime. I mean, not anime, excuse me. I was enjoying the manga a lot. Started talking about that, and then I found out about season 2 coming out, and then that's pretty much where it went. I just transitioned to like Fairy Tail because I lost my touch of Fairy Tail, just like a lot of people have done. Like if people out there that like it, that's completely fine. But I lost my touch with that series, and I got so invested in My Hero Academia, and I started making a whole bunch of discussion videos and reviews and theory videos on that, and that's what people know me by now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean that I feel like that's what drove your channel. That's what exploded your channel. Was like, I feel like the couple of videos, if I can remember correctly, was like the who is the Deku's father, and I mean that's how I found your channel. I literally like I was just like literally surfing through the internet looking at My Hero One Piece videos, and then I see my recommendation box, who is Deku's dad? I'm like, who's Deku's dad? Did we even talk about that in My Hero? And I click on it, and then I just find you.
yeah, because I wanted to like talk about something that not a lot of people were really talking about, because of course a lot of people were talking about like certain things that they've seen from the anime, but like one thing that was brought up that not many people really like paid attention to was Deku's father, because the only thing we know about him is that he's working overseas. We don't know anything besides that. So you can take that right there and you could break it down into a lot of things where you could be like, is he really doing this, or is there something else that's going on? And it just created a lot of mystery because we know who got into the father. So I gave my own idea of what could possibly happen with the character, and a lot of people seemed to like my idea. A lot of people didn't like the idea, and then a couple people were memeing um my what I said in my video, because I used to script back then, but eventually after a while I started just recording like raw, like pretty much how it is today. I just record whatever's on my mind, but I used to script, and I stumbled on a couple words and people were just memeing it in the chat or whatever, in the comment section and stuff. But definitely, like as you said, My Hero definitely brought me where I am today, and I'm one of the big guys in the MHA community that a lot of people know who I am. Like, I always get tweets all the time from like certain people that I didn't even know watch my content, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Kid Otaku, hey, Chibi, check this out," and they show me like a news update of like My Hero Academia, or like a certain scene from the series where they're like, thanks to you, Kid Otaku, like I'm finally checking out My Hero Academia, and it's a really good series, which puts a smile on my face because it shows how far I've come from like step one all the way until like going all the way up there, which is like pretty crazy to know like how far I've come, because never would I think that I would be where I am today. And I'm pretty sure you guys probably feel the exact same way as well. Like, I'm pretty sure when you hit 1K subscribers, Zypher, you're like, wow, you know, this is a huge milestone for me. And now I'm growing even more. Like,
Yeah.
it just, once you keep grinding, and once you're just like, and when you're like so passionate, like about whatever you're talking about and stuff, it just feels, it just feels great.
It's not even like about the views or the money. It's like, it's almost like you're talking about your passion, and you see that subscriber count go up, and you see people talking more in your comment section, and people are tweeting at you. It's like people like what they hear, like your thoughts on those series, and more people want to hear your thoughts. So it's like a good feeling that you feel like you're on the right track. You're what you're saying is good. What your thoughts are accurate. What, like, the feelings are mutual. People agree with you. People have the same thoughts as you. And like that's, I feel like that's where mostly where we think it's like we want to relate to people in the series that we like.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like YouTube is a great way to outsource that.
Yeah. So I've been holding my tongue on saying it, but kid, if you
What?
were still doing Lego stop motion videos, what
You
would
still
your
stop-
YouTube channel be? What would your YouTube channel name be?
Oh, you're curious just to find out what it is, huh?
No, I don't want to know what it is. I'm saying, what would it be
Um,
right now if you still did those types of videos?
Personally, I don't know.
Oh.
I honestly don't know. Like, it would obviously relate to like Legos and stuff. I just don't know.
Kid
On the top
Lego.
Lego
And
kids.
he's like, hey guys, it's your boy Kid Lego here, and I'm coming with another stop motion video for you guys. Hope you all enjoy. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up.
I mean, I feel like you'd actually you'd actually be a bigger YouTuber than he is right now, because
Honestly.
that's not even an insult. Just kids just eat up YouTube views, dude. Kids dominate anything. That's why Minecraft is big. That's why Fortnite is big.
Yeah.
That's why like toy reviews are big. Kid would actually be like huge on that stuff. Like if he actually did something like stop motion Lego videos.
Do you think
Or if
he
I
would
just
ever
continue.
come back and do that?
I mean, since I have a lot more experience, I'd probably be a lot better than when I was younger. I mean, I was good when I was younger, but since I took classes in high school that helped me with like editing and like stop motion and stuff like that, it would probably be a lot better than it was before. Because I used to
So-
do like voice acting with it too.
Should we expect upcoming Lego stop motion videos on the Kid Otaku YouTube channel?
Oh yeah, sure. That'll be the 10K special.
Really?
Yeah, I'll just take all my Lego sets out of my closet. I'll
Dude,
make
you
them dance
actually should
around.
do that. Just a throwback to your old channel when you started YouTube, a 10K Lego special.
I wonder if they have My Hero, like, knockoff Lego things that you could recreate an episode of My
I want to be
Hero
surprised.
with just
Recreate
Legos.
Oh my god, a Deku logo. Oh my god. Dude, you need to recreate the episode where like the very first episode when Bakugo's like literally bullying Deku.
You should recreate the episode where Deku does the crazy thing where he punches through the like ceiling. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
When it's Deku
Yeah.
The
versus
building, yeah, he
Bakugo.
smashes through
Yeah.
the building.
Yeah.
You just gotta do that. And then when he smashes through the building, you just take your fist and punch the Legos.
And then I can just imagine like one frame, like he accidentally forgets to cut it out. You just see his fist through the Lego set.
All right.
All right, so yeah, 10K. Look up for kids Lego special video.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess as far as my case, I don't really do content creation like they do really anymore much, but I mean, I do stuff with websites and doing this podcast and stuff now, but I guess like where I got started is kind of similar to Zypher, I guess, with doing like Call of Duty related stuff. And I mean, it was definitely a transition from there to here because I was pretty big in the whole Call of Duty scene, and then when I transitioned over to gaming, I kind of took on a different set of fans in a sense, and then
Turned a new leaf.
yeah, and then eventually, I mean, I kind of just fell out of that stuff and eventually got into anime. I mean, I've known a lot of the people that I'm friends with now for like a really long time. Like I met Kid probably pretty early on after I started my YouTube channel. I mean, I can't even think how many subs Kid had. Probably under 1,000 when I first met you.
Yeah, I met you like 3 years ago when around 12 Days of Anime, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd probably say you're definitely under 1,000. I mean, most of the people that I knew were like under 1,000 subscribers. I mean, even people that I knew back then, like Sun Wukong and some of like the people that are a little bit bigger size now, even were around that size. So I mean, it's kind of interesting, like watching everyone grow as years pass, kind of. And I mean, in my case, like I kind of stopped doing YouTube for a pretty extended period of time, and sunk my ideas and sunk my time into other sources. And I mean, this is just one of the things that came to fruition with me sinking my time into it. So I mean, hopefully things like this can get big someday, as you guys have also increased subs and such. So I mean, I feel like as far as keeping up with doing stuff, I mean, I do a lot of the articles on Anime Avenue, and it's kind of tough in some cases, but I honestly do believe that at some point it'll start paying off more and more. I'm sure you guys probably have the same opinion as well when you make videos that, yeah, it's not getting as much as you wish it could, but you're starting to see the growth and you believe that it's going to get to a certain point.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I feel like no one's ever satisfied with the amount that they're getting. Everybody wants to grow. But it's like it's crazy to me because I was looking back like a year and a half ago when I started. I would be so happy if my video broke 20 to 30 views. And now it's like at my very least it breaks 100 views, and now I get closer to 1,000 views per video. That's slowly occurring, but it's usually sits around 500 to 600 views. I'm like, that's what I'm averaging now. But back in the day, I would be happy to get 20 or 30, and now I'm like at 500-600. I'm like, no, it's time to increase that growth even further. So it's like in just a year and a half spent time, like I feel like Kid could relate to that. Like 3 years ago is so much more different than what he's doing now. It's like from going 20 to 30 and being satisfied with it to now being 500-600, and like it's not even close to satisfying me. It just shows the difference in like how much I grew, but you don't notice it until you actually look back.
Yeah,
and I mean that's how. Oh, sorry.
It helps with doing like the podcast and doing the website to have people such as Kid and Zypher to kind of have the same mentality that I do when it comes to things like this. So it makes everything else much smoother when doing it because they're both motivated on the same level that I am as well. So, I mean, that part of content creation is better when you have people around you that are as motivated as you are, which in the past, I feel like in some cases I didn't really have that. I don't know about you guys as well, how you think kind of that motivation has changed over the time that you've done YouTube, or has it been kind of the same for you guys?
I feel like it's been relatively the same. Like I still have that passion. I think I literally said this to myself when I first started, and I still stand by it. Is in like because what drove me in the first place was One Piece, and I said as long as One Piece is going, I'm not starting YouTube, stopping YouTube. So and One Piece has got another decade in it, so you're gonna be seeing me on YouTube for like another 10 years. But other than that, that was my main source of motivation was One Piece itself. That series just drives everything for me with my channel. But I feel like as I've proceeded through the last year and a half, it's been like I've been talking to more and more people, making more friendships, and like going to things like anime conventions that even I feel like Anime Expo was like a really, really like boost to it too. Like when I felt the vibes at Anime Expo, meeting everyone that I talked to on YouTube. Well, not everyone, but a lot of good majority. Seeing all these people within in the industry that I've looked up to, becoming friends with them, like seeing all this stuff, like over 110,000 people showing up, having the same passion as me, being surrounded by them. It was such a surreal feeling. I'm like, this is what I want to continue wanting to do. But yeah, I feel like I don't know if it's any different for you, kid.
Um, Pretty much for me, like at first, like I said earlier, it took a while for me to get used to it, but once I started having a proper schedule, things got a lot better. Like now I have a certain schedule that I follow, so it's a lot easier for me. Like I told you yesterday or the day before, I was like, okay, I'm gonna, post so many videos this day, take a break, post so many videos the next day, take a break, so I don't overwork myself because it's not good to overwork yourself. So you got to make sure you're doing things the right way, because you don't have to be like, oh, okay, 10 videos every single day nonstop. Like, no, you got to make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So this will kind of be like towards the same equivalent of this topic, but I'll start with Kid first and then Zypher. What do you think you would atone your growth to? Like, why do you think you're, I guess in Kid's situation, one of the like top people when it comes to specifically My Hero content? What do you think you do that differs from other people, and why do you think it works so well?
I feel like, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm cocky or tooting my own horn, but I feel like a lot of people have approached me and said that literally like I come off like, and this sounds so like cliche as I'm saying it, but a lot like everyone tells me, majority of people tell me that the reason why they like my channel, they like talking to me is because I come off as genuine. I come off as someone who's not just doing it for a certain reason, just truly just passionate about what he loves, and that's the vibe I give. And that's why like I feel like I want to going into this a little bit. A lot of smaller channels like my size would approach me like, "How are you talking to people like Roger and Joy Boy and stuff like that?" And I'm like, "Bro, I just treated them like everyone else. I talked to them like everyone else, and I just did my own thing, and they came to me. Like, I didn't go out of my way to like be like, please be my friend. No, I was just like, they came to me. That we started hitting it off. We start conversations, and that's how it just happened. Everything has its process and natural, like it just everything just happened naturally. I feel like that's my biggest thing is like, and I feel like the second thing probably is me personally. I love talking to people, and that's like I feel like you get from like, especially if you go on Discord, I almost always respond to you. I just genuinely love talking to people, and I feel like that's how I've gotten most of my growth is me interacting with the community a lot. Anyone that's ever made a comment, well, obviously, I'm not gonna reply to every single comment, but obviously I miss some. But I try to respond to everything. Anyone ever hits me up on Discord, I love talking to people about the things that have similar interests with me. I'm in like over like 40 Discords, over half of them being anime related. Kids server, Rogers server, Joy Boy server, the Anime Avenue server, the One Piece community, the Annie Alliance, like this, it just the list goes on. And I feel like my passion for the love of what and have someone having the similar passion as me and just talking to them about it is just I feel like what it is, it's like the law of attraction. You attract people who are naturally like the same stuff as you.
Yeah. I mean, um, so do you think, like, specifically you do anything different that makes you stand out versus, like, another YouTuber? Like, as far as, like, content-wise, do you think there's a reason why people would prefer to watch you versus someone else?
Honestly, I would say no. As of right now, I definitely have ideas that I want to accomplish eventually that I feel like no one's ever done in the community way into the future, and when I have a lot more um, resources to work with. But as of right now, I think it's just truly just me being me and my passion for me doing whatever I do is what's pushing it. But eventually, I want to do things original because, like, right now what I'm doing is just discussions and reaction. There's nothing original. Everyone does that. But I feel like just me being me is what's pushing my growth. But eventually you guys will see over time that I do have ideas planned that will come into fruition one day, and you guys will see what I have planned.
Dang. So you're basically saying that real recognizes real, and that's why you have subs like you do. What
Yeah.
a cocky statement, Zypher. All right,
It's always
but
gonna be like that.
all right. So I guess this question can be like more, I guess, relatable to you, kid, because unlike me and Zypher, you're kind
Yeah.
of like a forerunner in a sense when it comes to like My Hero content. So I mean, realistically, there's not very many people that make just specifically My Hero content, and out of those people, you're probably one of the ones that stand out the most. What do you think makes you stand out more than someone else, I guess? You think it could just be from early adoption and things like that, or what do you think uh, made you grow so fast?
I think it's because I was consistent with my hero. Like whenever something new came out, I was always the first person on it because I know when it comes to like certain people like in the community that do stuff on my hero, it's usually like, oh, a new chapter comes out, let's talk about it. Oh, a new episode came out, let's talk about it. What I did is like I pretty much like organized a little notebook on my computer where I write stuff down of what I want to do next, and I pretty much went through that list and I kept checking it off over and over and over again. So I made sure I had all those videos out. So I just talked about everything that people haven't talked about, like even characters that like are irrelevant to the story that don't really get that much focus. I talk about them. I talk about like certain scenarios that could possibly play out that could potentially happen in the future of the story. I just make sure that like I keep that passion going because like Zypher is a One Piece. It's like whenever a new My Hero chapter comes out, I'm like, oh wow, this is great. And same thing with Zypher. Oh, when One Piece comes out, like he gets all excited and stuff like that. Like I can legit like sit down for like a good 20 to 30 minutes or even an hour or even more just talking about it. So like I guess as I said earlier, it's probably like how I'm just like very consistent with what I do. I don't like take breaks or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So,
like the
I
easiest
feel like
way to.
consistency is huge when in terms of YouTube, especially
Yeah,
nowadays when YouTube wants you to be constantly posting videos, or you literally like will fall off the face of YouTube.
yeah.
yeah. Because like I know sometimes you don't post for a while, it can hurt your channel, and then your views will go down because then people will be like, "Oh, did he quit? Is he not really like that passionate about YouTube like he or she was before?" Like that's sometimes what happens. It's like you lose subscribers. Sometimes you gain some when you're not posting, but people subscribe to you for a reason because they want to be entertained. They don't want to just subscribe to somebody that's not going to post.
Yeah.
Because it kind of makes it look like, oh, I subscribed to this person for no reason. Like I subscribed because I wanted content, and here they are posting like one video a month.
Yeah. So I'll ask kind of one more similar question to that. So I'll start with Zypher. Do you think there's anything that you have planned that could possibly help raise your subscribers, or something that you think a new person can do to like help themselves out in the community? I mean, I don't know if you have anything specific you have planned that isn't something like that people can't know or something like that. So if you want to just say
In
whatever
terms
you
of
think.
in terms of like doing something original that people could definitely do, um I feel like this is something that's it has been done, but I feel like a lot more people are doing it now, is honestly literally get into doing like what Master Media is doing. He's really well at doing it. He's growing really fast, and he posts like every couple of weeks, but it works out for him. He's an animation channel. If you have artistic ability, I'd probably say that is like the best route to go down. And I feel like with nowadays everybody on Twitter, and you animate something well and then share that online, people are gonna go wild over it, especially if like you recreate a moment, or like you almost make a spin-off series off of, like, for example, he does like spin-off shonen stuff. So like he'll have like Goku versus Saitama. That's like huge. That's like millions of views right there. So definitely, if you have artistic ability, do animation. But in terms of me sharing my stuff, no, I don't think I have anything that I can reveal yet.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess when it comes to things like that, you kind of need to have, I guess, an original thought for the most part, unless you're kind of just like have that natural ability kind of to gain subscribers and have a personality that can be like really likable,
engaging.
Yeah. Engaging would
Mhm.
probably be more of a word. But what do you think, Kid? Do you think there's anything that, like, I guess, can help someone succeed easier in the community that you think isn't done that much? Or is there like anything that you think you do that kind of differs from other people?
Honestly, on the top of my head, I personally feel like what I'm doing like isn't different from other people, because there's people doing the same thing I'm doing, like doing reviews and discussions and stuff like that. But like, I feel eventually one day I'll eventually think of something that'll help push me out there a lot more. That helps, like helps me get my name out there, so a lot of people know who I am, because already people know who I am, and I'm already at like 9.6K.
Yeah.
And usually, like when you go on people's videos and stuff, like if you check certain My Hero videos and stuff, people like, oh, Kid said this, or oh yeah, kid had the exact same thoughts on this certain thing. But like, I feel like sometimes you just gotta like, I honestly don't know. I feel like sometimes you just gotta sit down and figure out like what you want to do in order to get yourself out there, like, because it's kind of hard to be original nowadays, because like a lot of things has been done and it's really hard to get your name out there. I mean, stuff with vlogs and gaming and even content like ours, like people like Fernet World and Chibi and all of them, they hopped on it a long time ago when it wasn't a thing, and that's why they're known for it, and that's why they're huge off of it. And then you have all these offsprings like us that came through there as well.
So the next generation.
Pretty much, because I'll be honest with you, like the people that we see now won't more than likely take their place. Like if we're like consistent with what they do, a lot more people will like start watching us, because that's what sometimes happens. Like sometimes people lose that passion. And
Yeah,
then
I mean, I feel like the perfect example would be if you guys know who Sawyer Seven Mage is. I remember him saying it on a live stream once. He says that he thinks that most likely after One Piece is said and done, he's done with YouTube. That is the one series left that he grew up with, that he's passionate about still with, that he truly cares about. And I don't think, he says that he doesn't think that he'll be able to do the same that he does, like he does with other series. Like people tried getting him into MHA. He's like, he feels like he's grown out of that state where like he could have loved this 10 years ago, but he's grown out of that state. He's like, One Piece, after he's said and done, he's probably done with YouTube. And I feel like as those YouTubers who've grown out of that state of just being passionate, growing up with Naruto and Bleach and One Piece are fading away, the newer generation of people we're talking about, and My Hero Academia, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Doctor Stone, Vinland Saga that's coming out are the people who
Mhm.
are gonna continue to grow and they're gonna take
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that early adoption to something is definitely something that can get you out there. So, I mean, definitely for someone who's like getting into anime or getting into being a YouTuber, if you see like a series that you think is going to be big, kind of like how Kid thought My Hero was big, that could honestly be something that could potentially get you kind of like a slingshot up versus other people making the same sort of content. So,
Mm.
It's actually kind of funny with MHA because MHA is like huge in the West, but it is not as popular in Japan at all. I think they were showing rankings of like how they put it in Shonen Jump, even though there's two lists that they basically make. It's their table of contents list, and then they have like their ranking list that they do, but they don't really show it.
Mhm.
And MHA usually sits like 5th or 6th or 7th place in the back. Like they know that it's gonna naturally get its views, but they do not, in Japan. They don't even try to push it as much because it's not as popular. There's like Promise Neverland and Doctor Stone do more better in Japan, but for some reason, or actually not for some reason, when it comes to superheroes, it was like an instant hit. I think that's the same thing with One Punch Man. It just an instant success
yeah.
with One Punch Man, and now
Mhm.
with My Hero Academia, like I could going back to Anime Expo, I literally could not go anywhere without seeing My Hero Academia. It was My Hero
Mhm.
Expo. That's literally what it was. It was My Hero Expo. It was literally everywhere, especially because there was a movie there. So that was even on top of that. So My Hero has completely taken over the West, and it'll continue to take over the West every year that goes by, every season that goes on. The manga is
Yeah.
going to continue to grow. So, My Hero, when people say that it won't surpass Naruto and it won't become the next big thing, I feel like they're absolutely crazy. My
Yeah.
Hero Academia is 100% coming to take over the West.
Yeah. And I mean,
Honestly.
I think I'd partly kind of contribute it to kind of like the increased success as of like the last couple of years that like Marvel has had, because I mean, when you kind of look at it before this kind of trend of these Marvel movies really coming up and like breaking the box office, comic books were kind of still in the light that like kind of like manga is in a sense. A lot of
Yeah.
people read the
Mhm.
comics, like things like that, but when it came to adaptations into like movies, it didn't really hit. I mean, there's definitely exceptions like Batman and some of the things like that, but I mean, now you're seeing stuff like Ant-Man and uh,
Doctor Strange.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange, some things like that really hitting, and it wasn't like that even like
Mhm.
5 years ago. So I mean, definitely partly I think My Hero's success comes from the increase in popularity that these comic book companies are getting in the West. So
I mean, Habit, you mentioned that. I don't even know if you knew, but before both Infinity War and My Hero Academia came out, because they both came out in April. In
Mhm.
March, they did a collab. My Hero Academia and Marvel did a collab where they cross promoted each other, and Marvel was like, they basically did this thing where like which My Hero character would be a Marvel superhero, and they had like All Might as, I
Mhm.
think they had him as Captain America, and they had like Deku as, I can't remember. I don't remember I think they had him as Iron Man, but they were just doing these cool things where like Black Widow was Ochako, and it was just a cool collab because like those were the two big things in terms of like two different medias, Marvel movies and like anime, and they were both
Yeah.
superhero related. So they did a collab, and it
yeah,
cross promoted people from Japan to watch Marvel movies, and then for West audience to check out anime.
I mean that's honestly kind of a really thought out and really good thought process to even come up with doing a collab with something that's kind of like so different but in the same light are very similar, because I mean we have manga, but ultimately a lot of people, even when manga comes over to America, you correlate manga as like a comic book. It's like all those statistics with like One Piece starting to become one of the most popular comic books in America, because I feel like in the West we don't really correlate it that differently. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, Zypher, that
I mean, I feel like anime and manga are just keywords from Japan, but
Yeah.
if you translate them, they're essentially Japanese cartoons. I'm not trying to trigger anyone, but that's literally what they are. They're cartoons animated by Japan, and then manga is
Mhm.
literally comic books made by Japan. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just happens to be that the style of the people, the creators in Japan, the the creativity that they have when it comes to this type of material, it intrigues us in a way where I feel like the West doesn't do for us. I feel like you could all agree on that. That the Japanese, those Japanese authors out there, like they just do put out some phenomenal stuff. And
Yeah.
in terms of what you
Yeah.
said, One Piece becoming, I think right now it's the third best-selling comic book of all time and on track. They said if it goes for another decade, which it's going to, it's gonna eventually surpass the big behemoth Superman and become the number one best-selling comic book of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of things in the past have kind of done that where it transcended just being an anime, kind of like Dragon Ball. Like most people know what Dragon Ball is in the West. Like if you say like show someone a picture, they'll be like, "Oh, that's Goku," or "I know what Dragon Ball is. I've
Yeah,
seen that."
even if they haven't even seen anime.
And then
Naruto hit that level as well.
yeah, yeah, Naruto as well. And then, I mean, even the case with Studio Ghibli, they ended up having a partner with Disney, arguably one of the biggest studios in the West. And I mean, to have someone recognize you like Disney is pretty huge. And I mean,
Mhm.
that was back in the day too. So I mean, there's definitely things like My Hero and stuff that will predominantly succeed in the West more than
Yeah.
anywhere else, just due to the premise of what it actually is, such as like Naruto and Dragon Ball. Like they have a huge presence in the West, and in some cases don't have as big of a presence kind of anywhere else for the most part. So, I mean, I could definitely see it, and people definitely should look out for My Hero because, like you were saying, that some people don't think they'll see that overtake of like Naruto and things like that. But even the fan base with Naruto is essentially going to dwindle down, especially because there's nothing new for Naruto. I mean, unless you talk about
Mhm.
Boruto, but that's kind of essentially its own separate thing, kind of. So, I mean,
Yeah.
eventually you'll see stuff die down. I mean, look at Yu Yu Hakusho, uh, Inuyasha, things like that, and like the early 2000s were very popular. But I mean, realistically, Yu Yu Hakusho doesn't have the appeal as it did back then. So, I mean,
Mhm.
things like Naruto, uh, anything that's not really going on now, eventually will kind of have that treatment in a sense. I mean, I feel like that's probably part of the reason Dragon Ball continues doing what it does, like bringing out Super and already talking about the next project and such, is to kind
I
of
feel like
keep
the
relevancy.
I feel like
Yeah.
the success of Dragon Ball mostly comes from the nostalgia effect. There was like so many years that went by that people like are still passionate about Dragon Ball and what Dragon Ball was. And then
Yeah.
time goes by and they finally get something. They'll eat up anything that they get because again, like they grew up with this stuff and it just and I feel like anything as a kid that you grew up with, for example, even video games, like you're always gonna have that special place in your heart for something that you grew up as a kid watching.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I am with Pokemon. That's how I am with Zelda. That's how I am with Mario. That's how I am with Spider-Man because I grew up with that stuff. So that's something that's going to stick with you for a long time. And there's going to be some people that grow up without those things and look at it a different way from you, but that's just how you look at it.
Yeah. So I know we got a little bit off track, but do you
Yeah.
guys have any kind of final thoughts when it comes to content creation, kind of as a whole?
Honestly,
Well, I can real
you go
uh
ahead.
no, you
All right. Okay. I would basically say, honestly, it comes down to if you truly want it, and if you truly want to pursue it, it comes down to how passionate you are about what you're doing, and its consistency. I feel like those two things are the two major factors. That's what's mainly for me is consistency and passion. If you have both of those, you'll do fine on YouTube. It could take a year, it could take 10 years, but I feel like you'll eventually find it down the road.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything to add to that, kid, or?
Yeah, I wanted him to speak out his part first, but what I wanted to say is like, well, pretty much what Zypher said, but it's like just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about what people say to you because we grew up in a world where not everything's fair, so you don't really need to listen to like people online because they're gonna say stuff to try to get to you, but it's best to ignore it. But if you want to achieve something, then you just keep working hard so you can get there. And it might take a while, but you just gotta keep making sure you're doing what you love. I mean, here I am right now, almost at 10K. Honestly, the number doesn't really bother me. I just like talking about what I love.
I'm
And if
talking
you
about
like-
having 10K. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Just
No, I tell people this all the time. You're like, kid, you're growing so big now. It's like, yeah,
You're like,
but at the
yeah,
same time,
I know.
But yeah, but at the same time, I just enjoy talking about like My Hero and all these other series on my channel. I barely pay attention to that number anymore. It comes to the point where I have to like go check how many like subscribers I have on my channel. Like I just love talking about like what I love. It's always gonna be like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely pretty well said. Definitely if you're getting into something with the expectations of kind of getting big or making money off of it, a lot of the times it's not going to come to fruition, like versus you just truly having a passion about it and people being able to tell. So I think with that, we're just going to go through a little bit of the news that has come out this week before wrapping up. So
I have a couple articles if you want me to go through it while
Yeah,
if
go
you want
for
to
it.
mention some after. If you guys haven't heard, Seven Deadly Sins manga will be ending in about a year. Within probably around this time summer, the Seven Deadly Sins manga will be ending. So approximately around, I'd say 2020, 2021 is probably a safe bet to say that the final season the final season of Seven Deadly Sins will come out. I mean, I've read up to chapter 200, which ends with season 2, and it has been a phenomenal read. I'm gonna have to go back to it and continue to read it. It is a very phenomenal series. It is something that I feel like I wouldn't say is a completely original, but I felt like it actually balanced action shonen and romance very well. And I feel like shonens don't tend to go down the romance route a lot, and Seven Deadly Sins actually does it really well. So if you want to see a series that do like shonen and romance really well, Seven Deadly Sins is really worth the read. We already talked about One Punch Man coming in April 2019, so I don't really need to mention that. But the second thing I wanted to mention was Vinland Saga was confirmed for getting an anime in 2019, and if you guys want to check out who are the staff and who's going to be the main editors in that, you could check out the article at Anime Avenue.
Yeah, and I mean, probably the biggest news is the fact that Shonen Jump is not coming out with chapters for this week, so
Delayed.
yeah, delayed due
Shout
to
out to
their
SG Sammy.
due to their double
he
issue.
knows that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
And also what we talked about earlier, One Punch Man coming out next year.
yeah, and then
One Punch Man is not delayed.
yeah, and then other than that, there's a couple other smaller things that have had previews that are coming out next season. You can check all of that out on animeavenue.co. Other than that, I think that about wraps up this one. Definitely let us know if you like the webcams and we should continue doing that, or let us know if we're just ugly and you don't want to see us ever again. But
Yeah, I think the second option they might vote for the most.
Yeah, it's probably we should do a poll on it.
Yeah, do a straw poll.
They're like, dude, turn off the camera. I'm like, fine, dude, I will.
Yeah, we don't want to see your face.
yeah, so as always, all of our links will be in the description. They're on screen as well if you want to check out anything. Join our Discord, all in the description below. So, with that being said, I think that about wraps it up, guys. So, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace out.